finished the Houston Marathon under 3 hours. Let's go, debut. Definitely feeling it, but got it done. I just ran a 2 hour, 52-minute, and 53-second marathon for my first one ever. My name's Victor Salcida. I'm 36 years old. I work a full-time job, run a side business, and have 2 kids, about to get married in March. Also a regional leader of F3 Nation in the Northwest Houston area. If you don't know about F3, highly recommend you check them out at the link above, f3nation.com, and find a location near you. But my sub 3 for my first marathon should not be possible with everything that I had on my belt. My goal was just to break the 3 hour mark, but I beat it by over 7 minutes. Let's go. Let's go. Been up to the start line. Let's go, baby. First one ever. Ready to get this thing rocking. Go, Houston Chevron out here with Sam.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
Let's go. He's my pacer.
First marathon, baby.
First marathon.
Let's get it.
Let's get it. Mile 22. Heading up the tunnel.
You got this.
So this is a story of how it happened, the good, the bad, and what I learned that could help you run your fastest marathon. So let me take you back to race morning, January 11th, this past Sunday of 2026 at the Houston Marathon. It was the first time that I signed up. I had a bunch of jitters. It was hard for me to go to sleep the previous night. Even had a dream of me actually missing the marathon, which was wild. But I remember setting my alarm for 4:04 a.m. Had my race gear out, had breakfast, 2 bagels with natural peanut butter and honey, some banana and electrolyte drink mix. All this was critical because I spent the whole week dialing in nutrition to avoid any bathroom issues before the race. That was one of my biggest concerns. I did not want to have to go poop. But luckily I didn't. And at 6:15, we did a 15-minute shakeout run and some dynamic stretching just to get the blood flowing and honestly to trigger that final bathroom stop. And it worked. I was actually able to use the restroom before the marathon. But yeah, leading up to the event, I just remember getting in some stretches, meeting up with my guys to kind of just get those jitters out the way. The temperature was 40 degrees at the start. It was a perfect marathon weather. I wore my F3 shirt, some racing shorts, some compression shorts the first time I tried those during a race, but loved them. Some throwaway gloves, sweats, and some other gear just to help me stay warm as we approach the start line. But yeah, going up to the start line, I remember just huge corrals of people, thousands of people it seemed like we had to go through. But I felt like this is what my 22 weeks of training kind of just led up to that moment. The goal was to hit 650 per mile for a 2:59:59 finish, just under sub 3. And that's all I was hoping for. But somewhere deep down inside of me, I knew I could just dig a little deeper and I wanted to leave myself some cushion. So knew I was going to have to kind of push initially, even though everyone was telling me not to burn yourself out at the beginning. I went against everyone's wishes. But at 7:09, I remember just going to the front of the crowd. The gun goes off. I took a couple videos, but the starting line in pre-dawn darkness, yeah, just kind of lit up the city. They had some lights that made it even more attractive, but it was still dark out. The sun wouldn't rise for another 30 minutes or so, and downtown Houston was alive. All of us were just kind of getting ready to approach our marathons or half marathons. I learned I should have been in a different corral, but was in Corral C. I started controlled but confident. Started off at a 6:24 pace, which was hot, way above my 6:50 pace that I was aiming for. But my breathing felt right, honestly, and my heart rate was right about 150, 160. So I was pretty good about that. But I just remember running through the crowds, just kind of going at my own pace and seeing what felt natural. And yeah, it was good. What I liked about it anyway, it was good to see the crowd kind of just bring you in. I didn't have um, a lot of like know-how on how much the crowd would kind of bring up my spirits at such a critical time. But yeah, next thing you know, I was just shoulder to shoulder with some of the faster runners, trying to figure out what my pace was going to be, and I didn't want to burn myself out. It was a thought that just kept coming into my head. It's like, am I going too fast? Or should I just keep it as is because this feels just right? And I was just honestly trying to listen to my body. But yeah, the second 5K came in and just kind of got in my zone. I hit 6:25 pace, and just made sure to do what felt right. And at that time, I had a pacer. His name was Sam, and yeah, he did a really good job at just keeping me accountable. I was going neck and neck with him, and honestly felt good to have somebody just to pace with.
Go Houston Chevron out here with Sam. Yes, sir. Let's go. Let's go. He's my pacer. First marathon, baby. First marathon. Let's get it. Let's get it.
And for 3 consecutive 5Ks, I did 6:24, 6:25, and a 6:25 pace. So here I was in the groove. It was that 22 weeks of structured training. This is what it felt like when everything clicked. I was just running on pace. But yeah, I was way ahead of my goal pace, but it felt good. I felt like I was giving myself plenty of cushion because I know some of the suffering was going to come later. And at the 15K mark, I was already 1 minute and 15 seconds ahead of my sub 3 pace. And it might not sound like much, but in a marathon, that's gold. I knew I had some additional cushion that I'd have to pick up on. But yeah, mile 7.6 or so, the crowd, I remember the crowd splitting and just went off into our different sections. We had the half marathon and the marathon. I went off into the right and just kind of knew that I was going to be going into my own race now. The crowd started to get thinner, but still had the rest of the marathon ahead. This is kind of where I slowed down. I just felt like I was going way too fast, so needed to tone it down just a bit. Went to a 6:30 pace for that 5K and 7 seconds per mile slower than my first 15K. But I wasn't worried. That was normal. I grabbed some water. I had a handheld water that I was carrying around with me the whole time just so I could kind of drink it and not have to worry about somebody else hydrating me during such a critical time. So I felt like that worked for my run, but also seen other runners who kind of just went off into the side and grabbed some water themselves from some of the volunteers and took a quick drink, tossed the cup, and kept it moving. But for me, I felt like drinking water from my own water bottle, which was a soft flask, felt a lot easier to stay hydrated during the run. And I remember hitting that halfway point. Um, yeah, I was so excited. If I ran that same exact speed, I'd finish, my first half, I would have finished at around 2:48, 2:49. But here's the reality. Nobody's going to do even splits their whole marathon. I knew it was going to get harder later. My glycogen is going to be running low. My mind starts negotiating, am I going to be able to do it? Am I not? So for my job on that point was just to hold on, to keep my pace honest and don't blow up. I had 4 minutes of cushion over my, sub 3 goal, and that sounds like a lot, but it can vanish, in 5 bad miles. So next up was the 15 mile handoff, and so thankful for my fiance. who tagged along the kids super early in the morning, Suede and Selah, just to get them ready to cheer me on. And it was one of the best sights and best parts of the race for me, because we agreed the night before to be able um, to grab the gear and be able to just do a handoff at the 15.5 mile mark. What it was going to look like is she just grabs or hands me the another water bottle. I was going to hand her my shirt because it was getting too hot at that point, and I didn't want to have anything on me that was going to kind of just throw me off. So I decided to, give her the shirt and a water bottle and just kind of switch it out. And it was just such a smooth transition. She was such a trooper for being able to accomplish that, and really thankful for that. After the 15 mark, I felt like things started to slow down. It was really tough for me to maintain that pace. I knew that it was going to get hard during those miles, but this is just kind of where I had to dig. I remember hitting 18 through 22 was kind of the darkest point of the marathon for me. But I knew that I could not quit. I had to just keep pushing forward. I know I had to lean on those, F3 workouts, all of the runs that I was doing leading up to this, all those cold mornings and times I had to sacrifice. I just knew that it was going to have to pay off and did not want to make any excuses. I had to just keep moving, keep breathing, and trust, my training, trust the process, as they say. You fall to the level of your training, and I felt like I've been doing all this work, so I had to keep pushing. And I remember entering Memorial Park. It was one of the largest green spaces um, um, throughout the route, and I just, started feeling that pace just kind of slow down. I was like, man, it's getting tough. Am I going to be able to keep this up? I'm so close to finishing. But yeah, my quads were just torn. My form was getting sloppy, and I didn't know like what I could do. And the only thing I just remember telling me is like, don't give up, don't give up. This is the wall zone. This is where marathons are made or broken, and you can't just give up in this process. You're almost there, so keep pushing. And I did keep running, and I was for the most part staying under my 650 pace, which was a huge achievement, because I thought it was going to be pretty hard for me to maintain that pace. But I think all of that initial effort that I exerted, not sure if it, actually played in my favor or not, but now I had some cushion, some wiggle room to kind of just draw back, slow down, and not have to um, worry about keeping the pace. But my slowest 5K was a 6:59 pace, and that's when things were getting real. It was towards the end. I was depleted. I didn't know how much I had left in me. I felt like I was still going kind of the same pace, but in reality, I wasn't. I was just like, keep going, keep going.
Mile 22, hitting up the tunnel.
Dustin, you got this.
I remember hitting up mile 22, right under the tunnels. It was such a cool experience. Just seeing them, I knew I had to do a quick recording of myself. I didn't know how I still had the energy to record and talk, but obviously I still had some room. The crowds were just screaming. You could hear the DJ playing in the background as you're going through the tunnel, and I'm just like, I'm so close. I got this. Just keep pushing. But I still had still had some miles left, so it was determination at that point, and just not giving up. I was not letting no go for an answer. I remember the crowd cheering us on and seeing some of the power up signs. I'm just like trying to smack some of those just to make sure that I could keep my energy levels up. I kept telling myself like, Victor, you've been through harder than this. You've, went through, some CSOPs. You've done all this training. You've, went through some life experiences that kind of helped define you, but all of the training and all of the running that I did leading up into this point, this is what it was for. I could do hard things. Let's finish this, is what I kept telling myself. So the finish was close, but Houston had, one more test for me. It was just a small elevation, but it felt so much bigger than the hill at, what was it, the 13-mile mark. And that's because my legs were just torched. But for the most part, what I liked about the race was it was flat, but when we did get those hills, it did, start to sink in on me, and but I couldn't back down now. I already made it this far. I had to start my kick. So I just remember just like, all right, the last mile, you got to kind of just turn it up. This is where you're gonna shine. So I went from or I ended up finishing my last like 2.2K miles at a 6:41 pace. So I did speed it up a little bit, but I gave it my all. I remember one of the guys just like, let's push, let's push. I was like, all right, let's go into that next phase. And I just remember not knowing where that finish line was. I just kept running and running and running until I seen people stop. Because this was my first one. I didn't know how the end was going to look like, but this is where, I ran I seen like a straightaway. I just gave it my all and tried to just push through everything that I had. And I think that's, I knew that that was going to be towards my PR. It's just the harder that I pushed at the end, it was going to count and shave seconds off of whatever I was at. But that was it. That was the Houston Chevron race. I was super impressed and just proud of the result that came to fruition after, those weeks of hard work, but it shows, what can happen when you stick to a training plan. I closed strong. I passed people in that last mile. I gave everything that I had, and it was, yeah, just totally worth the experience. I'm definitely going back and gonna be making my way to the Boston Marathon now that I qualified. But yeah, I think that 7 minutes and 7 seconds under my goal and qualifying for the Boston for my first marathon ever at 36 years old is a huge, huge accomplishment. And yeah, just so thankful for all of the brothers that, pushed me to just be a better me at the end of the day. I didn't know, if I was going to hit my goal, if I wasn't, if it was too grandiose or if it wasn't. But you just got to train for it. I trained for a sub 3 hour marathon and passed my goal. So I do think that like whatever goal you do put in front of yourself, make it big. You don't know how much you can push yourself, how much you're capable. But every mile is going to matter. You can't skip any miles because it's going to show in how you show up in your marathon. But after 26 miles in almost 3 hours, I closed strong, as strong as I could be. I gave it my all, and that was the result. 2 hours and 52 minutes, 53 seconds for my debut marathon. And this wasn't luck. This was 22 weeks of disciplined training, early mornings, sacrifice, and trusting the process. Thanks for watching. If this inspired you, drop a comment with your marathon goal and let's chase it together.